Over the past 12 to 18 months, we as content creators have been inundated with marketing material trying to convince us that we need to upgrade to the latest and greatest camera equipment. It seems like almost every day, there's a camera release that's smaller, faster, has better image quality, better autofocus, or some other incredible feature. Camera companies are innovating at a rate that we've never ever seen before, and every time they come out with a camera, they position it to us as if it is critical for us to buy it in order for us to be successful at what we do. So the question becomes, are they right? Do we need to constantly spend thousands of dollars year after year in order to stay at the top of our game? Are we going to fall by the wayside and become irrelevant if we decide not to? I, for one, disagree with this logic, and I think that you should too. If you're a photographer or a video creator, you're probably familiar with the term GAS. GAS stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and it's the phenomenon we experience when we're constantly motivated to purchase newer, better camera equipment, either to make our lives easier or to make our content better. Just know that if you're experiencing this, it's not your fault. Camera companies literally have millions of dollars dedicated to marketing teams that are constantly trying to keep your brain in this gear acquisition syndrome mindset. Now, even though we think that buying this new gear is going to solve all of our problems and make our lives and our content so much better, this isn't always the case. I, for one, have been a happy user of a Fujifilm X-T2 for about 3 years now. I've had the camera ever since it came out, and I love it. However, with all of this new marketing hype and all of these new cameras being released by Canon, Panasonic, Fujifilm even themselves, and people like Nikon and Sony, I'm considering making the jump and buying a new camera that I think, because of all this marketing content, might make my content a whole lot better. Every time I get into this mindset, I try to look at it objectively and try to understand how this camera might make my content either easier to create or might upgrade it and make my content better. What I want to show you today is a framework that I've created in order to ideally get out of that gear acquisition syndrome mindset, or at the very least help you make an objective decision as to which camera is going to be ideal for you to either purchase for the first time or upgrade to. The very first step in this process is to choose which characteristics of a camera are most important to you. What I want you to do is choose your top 5. Don't choose any more than your top 5. This could be anything from video resolution to photo resolution, maybe even video frame rates, a good user interface on the camera, or any of those characteristics. For me personally, not in any particular order, my top 5 camera characteristics are portability, image quality specifically for photos, autofocus, lens selection, and a super convenient user interface. That's my top 5. So now that you have these 5 characteristics, what you're going to do is rank them against the camera that you currently have, as well as the cameras that you're currently considering switching to. You're going to rank them from 1 to 10 in terms of how good each of those cameras are at each of those different characteristics. For me personally, the different cameras that I'm considering switching to are the Fujifilm X-T3, the Panasonic S1, the Nikon Z7, and the Sony a7 III. You can either do this on paper or you can do it in something like Microsoft Excel. I personally am going to do it in Excel because there's a couple calculations that we got to do in a little bit that I'm definitely not smart enough to do in my head. I'll leave this exact same spreadsheet that I'm using in the link below or in the description below so that you can use it for yourself. Now, once you have all your characteristics and your cameras listed, you're going to have to rank each of these cameras from 0 to 10 according to those characteristics. This is probably where you're going to have to do a little bit of research if you don't already know everything about those cameras. So on the screen right now, you should be able to see me ranking my cameras against those different characteristics that I listed out. And once you have this done, we're going to do a little bit of math. I know that for a lot of people out there, some of these characteristics are more important than others. For me personally, portability is much more important than having fantastic image quality or great autofocus. So what we're going to do is we're going to give each of these characteristics a weight, meaning that we're going to assign each of them a percentage against 100% so that we can weight some of these characteristics as being more important than others. The percentage that we assign to each of these characteristics needs to total up to 100%. So as you can see on the screen, I gave portability a considerably higher percentage than I did to things like image quality and autofocus. But all 5 of these characteristics and the percentages that I assigned to them total up to 100% on the right-hand side. What this allows for us to do is give the more important characteristics to you personally a higher weight so that they factor in the final equation a little bit more. Now, once we've done all of this, we can multiply each data point against its particular assigned weight and then total all of those points up, and then we can see which camera comes out on top. My rankings came in with the X-T3 as the #1 spot, barely edging out the X-T2, which I currently have, that's my camera, and then with the Sony a7 III just barely trickling in behind the X-T2, and the rest of the cameras kind of fell in behind. If your camera doesn't come out as the current frontrunner, you need to figure out how much it would cost to upgrade to the new camera that came out as #1 spot on this list. For me personally, the X-T3 came out on top. So I know that I already have a whole bunch of Fuji glass. I pretty much have all the glass that I would need if I wanted that camera. So the only expense for me would be the camera itself. It's about $1,500. Also, because it came in so close, I might want to consider the Sony a7 III. Technically, it would be an image quality upgrade. It's a fantastic camera, obviously. But if I wanted to purchase it, it would probably be something like $5,000 or $6,000 because I would need to get the body, which is about $2,000, and then I would need to buy a whole bunch of lenses that I don't already have. So it would total out to probably something like $5,000 or $6,000, which personally I don't really want to spend right now, especially because after listing all of this out, I can see that the Sony a7 III, according to me and the characteristics that are most important to me, isn't even an upgrade at this point. It came in actually behind the X-T2, which is my current camera. So the reason I wanted to show you guys this process is because I think that a lot of you will be really surprised in terms of how highly your current camera ranks by doing this process. For me personally, I was shocked that the X-T2 actually beat out the Sony a7 III. And I didn't modify any of the numbers for the purpose of this video. Like, I 100% ranked them according to my own research and my own opinions on the different cameras. I was super happy that the X-T2 came out above that because I was really considering switching to the a7 III, but I really don't feel like spending $5,000 at this point in time. I'm gonna save all that money for a solid trip out west at some point this year, which will be a hell of a lot better than a new camera that's barely gonna improve my work. So if I helped you save $5,000 this week as well, please hit that thumbs up button. It would really help out the channel. Also, if you're new here, I make content all about photography every single week. So if you want more stuff like this, as well as some photo vlogs that I'm planning on doing in the future, please hit that subscribe button below. I'm actually tomorrow morning, bright and early, heading out to New York City, so I'm gonna have some solid New York content coming up next week. Thank you all a ton for watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace.